Welcome to season 3 of the Thrive Even with Trauma podcast. And I am so excited to launch this season with the incredible Kylie B, who is coming in with such an inspiring story. And I can't wait for this conversation of where Kylie has herself written a book, The Narcissistic's Daughter. Did I get that right? Yeah, from breakdown to breakthrough. And she was raised in the shadows of a narcissistic mother, took charge of her narrative at the age of 26, even severed ties to embark on her own transformative journey to self-discovery. And now a beacon of strength and authenticity, Kylie shares her experiences and insights through the power of social media and blogging. With a commitment to fostering healing and support, she has become a guiding light to those who, like her, have faced the challenges of a tumultuous upbringing. So, welcome, Kylie, to episode 1 of season 3. I am super excited to have you here and have a chat today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You're very welcome. And you shared with me too, just before we started recording, that this is your first podcast, and we had
First
a
ever
few little
podcast.
tech issues. We had a time zone issue. We had a doorbell going off. We had all of these things happening, and it was just
Throw
like,
me
yep,
right in at the deep end.
welcome to the podcast world. Yes, absolutely. So I was so excited when you contacted me from my expressions of interest to come on my podcast, because I myself also experienced a very similar upbringing to yourself, having a narcissistic mother myself. So I'm super excited for someone else to come in and share all of the things that a lot of people don't even realize half the time that they're even in. They just are forgiven because of that traditional and that generational and societal stereotype and ideals of what a mother-daughter relationship should look like.
100%. I think they just think it's like strict parents and that's how they used to be, and it's really not.
No, it hits a whole lot differently, doesn't it?
It does.
So talk to me, Kylie, like, what did you experience as a child before you knew what was really going on?
So I think as a child, I always knew things weren't right. A big part of my childhood was silent treatment. So I was always doing, in my eyes, I was doing something wrong and was trying to fix that. So if my mum went silent on me, it was the worst punishment I could have, because I'm a young child, I'm confused, I don't know what I've done wrong, and I'm just trying to kind of get that love from her, get her to be happy with me again, and to be my friend and to talk to me. So that was a big part of my childhood.
And that's rough, because you feel like
is.
then you have to do more, don't you?
Yeah,
Be
yeah,
more
and
or do something different so that they talk to you and give you
100%.
something.
And I am a people pleaser now, and I know that stems from that little girl that was constantly trying to please her mum and to kind of get out of that silent treatment. Um, I was 8 years old when my sister was born, and 9 years old when my brother was born. And I basically was their parent. I became their parent. So I had to feed them, change their nappies, get them ready in the mornings, while also trying to get myself ready for school on the occasions when I did go to school, because my mum hardly sent me to school. Um, it was tough. It was really tough. I felt isolated because I didn't have anyone to talk to. It was difficult.
Yeah. And what sort of stories would you tell yourself as a child when that was going on?
I think I used to kind of disassociate from it. So I used to go into like a fantasy world. Every night when I went to bed, I would imagine myself in this massive house with these big grand staircases. And I was always having parties, and I was surrounded by people that loved me. And I feel like that was kind of my way of taking myself away from the reality that I was in, and not wanting to kind of accept it. Or maybe I didn't understand because I was so young.
Yeah. But you're also just wishing for something better. There's got to be something more. There's got to be
Exactly.
something
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
and it shouldn't feel this horrible. So I totally
Exactly.
appreciate where you went with that. And, and as little girls, I'm going to go down a stereotypical track here, so no one shoot me or roll your eyes when you're listening to this, is we do idealize about what our life's going to look like,
Yeah.
and this can be for boys as well. Like, maybe we idealize what life could look like, what it could be like. Is there more on the other
Hmm.
side? And then we do have, Disney movies and all of those things too, which
Yeah,
really
yeah.
set us up to go, well, there's got to be more than
We're
this.
going to be that princess or that prince. And
Exactly,
I was
exactly.
having this conversation recently with a friend, and I said, as a kid, my fairy tale wasn't to be that princess and marry that prince. It was to just have a mum that loved me.
Mm, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I totally hear you there. I was very much in sort of alliance with the Cinderella story, but not the Cinderella story where she then became the prince, but the Cinderella story where, they finally
The
got
evil
found out.
stepmother.
And yeah,
Yeah,
and the stepsisters and things like that finally got found out and realized that, they couldn't keep you locked in, they couldn't keep
yeah,
you
yeah.
squashed down, they couldn't keep you in a box, that you could actually break free regardless of prince or no prince. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's, but just definitely resonate with the whole not allowed to be yourself and had to do everyone sort of serve them
Yeah.
in some way
It's
to
walking
to
on
suit them.
eggshells and
Yeah, not
yeah.
knowing what to do. Absolutely. So, um, at what stage then did you start to realize what was happening for you?
So I think around about the age of 19, I kind of started to be like, well, it was probably younger actually, probably teenagers when I was going through my exams. I started to kind of talk to my best friends, and I was like, I really struggle with my mom, and I hate
Mm,
her, and it's
mm,
horrible. So that's kind of when the first time I really started to speak about it, because
mm,
everyone in my family, they would always be like, "Oh, you're so lucky. Your mom's so
mm,
lovely. She does so much for you." So I couldn't speak to them because they wouldn't get it.
mm,
And then when I was 19, that was kind of the first realization when I was like, this isn't right. And I moved away for
mm,
uni, and there was a whole massive hoo-ha around that. And I got guilt tripped and I got
mm,
manipulated. And
mm,
at the time, my mum was pregnant with my youngest brother. There's 20 years between me and him, and she used me trying to move away as an she basically told me that she was going to abort him because she knew that that's what I wanted. So she
mhm.
tried to emotionally blackmail me to stay as a result of my little brother. Um, and
Wow.
I was proud of myself in that situation because I actually stood up to her and I said, "Don't try and put that on me. That's not what I want. And if that's what you do, that's on you. That's not got
Mm,
anything to do with me."
mhm,
And I moved away, and it was great. It was for the first time in my life I had freedom, and I was like, "Wow!" Because she'd always told me, "You've never survived in the real world. You don't know how to
mm,
fend for yourself. You don't know how
mm,
to cook. You don't know how to clean." She'd never taught me any of those things. But
mhm,
when I moved away for uni and I realized, wow, I can survive in the real world. I can look after myself. I can cook. I can clean. And it was that first kind of moment of freedom. But I did go back, and a few more times I kind of tried to step away. There was a lot of kind of gaslighting during that time. There was a lot of self doubt, a lot of guilt. So originally, I tried to cut my mum off about 7 times
mm,
before I actually did at the age of
mhm.
26.
Wow. And in those moments when you tried, like when you were going back and just trying,
Hmm.
what was going through your head at those moments? Like, why did you want to keep going back?
I think I kept going back because of outside noise. Everyone kept
Mhm,
saying to me, "But that's your mum. You only get one
mhm,
mum if anything ever
mhm,
happens to her."
mhm,
And I think that is the problem in society
mm,
nowadays, is that everyone tries to install that into us, and
mhm,
they don't understand that there are other narratives. Not all mothers are the mothers that you see in a Disney
mm,
movie.
mm,
And we need to kind of normalize letting people know that it is okay to
mm,
walk away if that is what's best for your mental health.
mm. Absolutely. And yeah, about choosing you, which is such a big
Yeah,
theme for any sort of abusive or tumultuous upbringing, is still choosing you and not taking the emotional responsibility of others.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's so tough, isn't it? Because feel like a rubber band where we want to go back just to try one more time, just to
Mm-hmm.
see, just to have hope that
Yeah.
maybe with some time and space, they can recognize and see that, you
Yeah.
know, and that
Maybe
could
they'll
be
change.
something.
Maybe,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Maybe
just
me
those little
leaving
bits of
last
hope.
time will make them realize. Maybe
Yeah.
they'll love me now.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And maybe I'll finally get the mum that I see others alike, or finally
Mm-hmm.
I'll get that
Yeah.
feeling in my
Yeah.
soul and in my heart that I
Mm-hmm.
that I just keep looking for, but this just doesn't keep coming. So
Never comes. And
no.
if you do have those moments where you kind of open up to them and let them know, like you basically will just bear it all to them,
Yeah.
rather than kind of take that on board and try and fix that relationship with you, they'll use that as ammunition against you,
Yeah, they
and they'll
weaponize it.
throw that all back in your face.
It hurts, doesn't it? So bad.
It
It's just
does,
so,
yeah.
and in the going back and in the trying and the hoping, and we do it dozens of times, and I don't think you ever actually stop wanting to, but you come to a point where you just can't.
Yeah.
And that never goes away, because you'll always just think, oh, what if, or I really wish. But it comes down to just remembering and going through that grief process of, it's actually
Yeah.
not worth the weaponizing back again to put myself through that. So
100%.
um and in that place though too, because the more that we go back to that space, the more we're actually reprinting and creating self-fulfilling prophecies of, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm
Yeah.
not lovable. It's, I'm still not good enough. She still doesn't love
Mm-hmm.
me. I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
still not worth it. I still don't
It.
deserve it. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what I'm doing, it's still not right. And it sort of cements all of those stories and those
100%.
blueprints like deeper and deeper down.
Yeah.
And
It reopens that wound, and
oh,
just it's
it's
harder
just
to heal from.
incredible. Yeah, absolutely. And it just gets deeper and deeper and deeper, which then is even more and more tricky to navigate out of when we do finally say no, because we're bleeding so
Conditioned.
much and
Yeah.
wounded so
Yeah.
much. And yes, that toxic conditioning and those stories
Mm-hmm.
get so much bigger and so much more ingrained that it just
Yeah.
starts to affect every other area of our life. Like, did you find that the other areas of your life and the quality of life was starting to be affected too?
Oh, 100%. I would be breaking down at work. I
Yeah,
wasn't present in, if I was out with friends, I just couldn't engage with them because
yeah,
everything just constantly was just, it felt crushing.
yeah, yeah. Because you're constantly then second guessing every single
Yeah.
relationship, every single interaction, every
Hmm.
single moment with those stories. Is this person going to like me? Is this person going to
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
I'm worth it? Is this person
And
going
that's
to?
a big thing that I've been working on recently. And I was having this
Mm,
conversation the other day, is that I'm still learning how to accept those healthy relationships,
mm,
because it sometimes almost feels like it's a trick. Like, this is too
mm,
good to be true. What's going to
mm-hmm,
go wrong? They're
mm.
going to do something. I don't trust this.
Absolutely. Yes. And that one comes down to that self-trust too, is knowing that you're got it handled. But it's such a key learning part of the journey where you do go through that, because there will still be people that hurt us. There will still be people that
Of course.
and you're more susceptible to those behaviors, right? You're more
Yeah.
susceptible
Yeah.
to that. Plus, just any sort of kindness is like a massive drink of water on a hot day. You
Yeah.
just you just soak it up, and you're just like, oh
You
my God,
do.
this is
And then
amazing.
you feel so bad and you're like, oh, they've been so nice to me. I have to
Mm,
return that favor because they've
yes.
been nice to me.
Yes. So then you find yourself doing more or going out of your way, and
Yeah.
then that can be really smothering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they
It's
can then
about
step back and go, oh
finding,
my God, this is too much. What are you doing? And it's
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's about finding that balance of kind of accepting the good and being able to just accept it without having to return it.
And how have you been able to navigate that bit?
I've been really lucky to have some really good friends. Like, I I'm quite far into my healing journey now, and I'm not afraid to kind of be like, right, I need to have a chat. This is what's on my mind. This is how I'm
Mm-hmm,
feeling. I
mm-hmm,
know that's not the truth, and it's my
mm-hmm,
mind telling me this, but I need to verbalize this to you, and I need to process it with you, and to get you to understand why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And my friends are great at that. Like, they're really, really good at listening to me, and reassuring me in those instances. And even though I know that the scenario made up in my head isn't true, sometimes I just need to say it out loud to them and for them to be like, yeah, 100% that's not true. Like, what do you mean?
Mm. Yep.
But it's really good because now they know how my mind can sometimes go away
Mm.
with itself. They'll reassure
Mhm.
me before I even need it sometimes.
Mm. Yep.
So that
But
that
you've
really
also
helps.
taken the responsibility too in this is where I'm at. I know my brain's lying to me.
Yeah,
Talk me like I need to talk it out. So it's really
yeah,
healthy becoming more and more secure in you being able to actually
yeah,
verbalize that.
definitely.
Have you ever actually had someone where you've gone and done that with and then they haven't understood?
Yes, yeah.
Talk us through
Um, I,
that.
I've had a few scenarios where I've had to step away from friendships because I just constantly felt like I was back with my mum,
Mhm.
and no matter what I tried to verbalize, they just weren't getting it, and everything turned into an attack. Not me attacking them, but they felt like I was attacking them because they couldn't hear what I was saying.
Mhm.
And we get our triggers, and
Mm.
I would try and explain how certain things triggered me, but they wouldn't listen to that, and they'd continue to trigger me. So I had to kind of reflect on those friendships and be like, is this friendship adding value to my life, or is this
Mhm.
taking me further back? And I stepped away from those people. And it
Mhm.
was difficult because they're people that, I've known for years, and you feel like, oh, we've been friends for 15
Mm.
years,
Mhm.
but you have to step away from them.
Yeah. That's so tough, isn't it?
It's really tough. And again, it takes you through that whole grieving process, and
Mm.
it really does take you back to those moments with your mum.
Yeah. And just more loss, more people that are around you that you didn't know that you'd built, half life relationships with
Yeah,
that end up being something that are actually becoming toxic because it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
similar familiar ways
And
of relationships.
I'm getting a lot better at noticing those toxic traits in people earlier
Yeah.
on. And I would just be like, no, I'm setting this boundary. If you don't like it, then
Yeah.
bye.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Gosh, it takes a long time for us to get to that space
it
though,
does.
doesn't it? Yeah,
The
because we are
first time I
so
set a
certain in
boundary,
ourselves by
yeah,
then. Yeah.
the first time I set a boundary, I cried my eyes out for like
Oh,
3 days because I
yeah.
stuck to my boundary.
Yeah.
And I felt terrible for sticking to it. But I
Mm,
was like,
yeah.
no, I have my reasons for doing this. And I
Yeah.
need everyone to respect that this is my boundary.
Yeah.
But
God,
it's
it's hard,
hard,
isn't it? Yeah,
so hard.
absolutely. I totally hear that because you go through that guilt, you go through all the toxic
Yeah,
conditioning, you go through all the
go through
stories,
it all again.
but it's like you've got to stay strong in that moment and
Hmm.
just and wait for the moment and then wait for the moment and then wait for the moment. You're like, okay, and then just another hour and just another hour. And then you
Yeah,
distract yourself
yeah,
and you delay thinking about it. Okay, I've
yeah.
gotten through another day and I've gotten through another day. And it's a battle. It's an
It's
inner battle.
difficult. It is. It
Absolutely.
really
When
is.
it is tricky. And that's where we usually waver, isn't it? How many times did you
Yeah,
waver
yeah.
in that before then? Did you waver in
So
your
many times.
boundaries? Yeah.
So many times. I think this recently has been the first time I've set a boundary and I've stuck to it. And
Yeah.
it was so challenging because there was so many conflicting views on
Mm,
that scenario that I was like, oh my God, am I doing the wrong thing here? And I was like, no, your feelings are valid. You set this
mm,
boundary for a reason.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, I would have wavered so many times before.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. And you do, and then you just beat yourself up, don't you? And you just
Hmm.
feel like, I just am not good for me. I'm not good for myself. Oh my God, I can't do
Yeah.
this.
No
All
one
of those
likes me.
stories.
I'm a terrible
Yeah.
person. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. How am I being so mean? I'm such a bitch. And rah, rah,
Yeah,
rah.
literally.
Absolutely. Oh my God, so much of that. So tell me, when you started to realize and started to sort of go through, what people call an awakening and start to really see what you can no longer unsee,
Hmm.
where did you get your support from? Like, how did you navigate that with education and support and someone empowering you?
So my breakthrough moment was tough. It was
Mm.
um so my nan had just died,
Oh
and
wow.
when my nan died, I was already no contact with my mum.
Mhm.
Um, but I reached out to her because I was like, oh, it's her mom, and she's
Mhm.
grieving
Mhm.
too. It's the worst thing I could have done.
Mhm.
So we kind of pretended we just brushed everything under the carpet for a couple of months. And then there was a whole like final showdown. Um, and I, during those few months when we'd kind of was pretending nothing happened, I had discovered that I was on the child protection register as a kid for neglect because my
Mhm.
mum wasn't sending me to school.
Mhm.
So I requested my social service records and I was going through all of that. So I think that kind of helped me to process that everything I had felt as a kid, it was all
Mhm.
there in black and white. There were
Mm.
certain things that I thought I had made up and they were in my social service record.
Mhm.
And for that validation was the strength that I needed to get through that time.
Yeah.
And when that final showdown came, I felt so strong because for the first time ever, I had proof.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
able to be like, no, I'm not doing this.
Mm.
And it was hard. Like it did take me a very long time to kind of get over that because, my younger brother, he was only 6 at the time and she was
Mhm.
using him as a weapon. So I wasn't able
Mhm.
to see him. So I was literally crying for weeks. I
Mhm.
would cry at work, I'd cry on the way to work, I'd cry in the
Mhm.
shower, I'd cry in the supermarket. It was
Mhm.
it was
Mhm.
really hard. But then I kind of picked myself up and reminded myself why I was doing it.
Mm.
Even though I wasn't able to see my younger brother, I knew that I needed to heal to be strong for him one day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that kind of became my mission and he became my why. Um, and then I came across an article on narcissistic mothers because at that
Mhm.
point I didn't know that my mum was a narcissist.
Mhm.
And when I started reading that article, I was like, oh my God, this is a blueprint to my life. Someone has written a guide to my life, and
Mhm.
everything started to make sense. And as soon
Mm.
as I had that, I had something to kind of I basically became obsessed with narcissism and was just
Mm.
reading up and educating myself on it.
Mhm.
And it just started to validate everything I've been through.
Mhm.
And that's when I started writing my book,
Yeah.
which led me into the beginning of my healing journey.
Yeah. So is your book your sort of memoirs? Like what's
Yeah,
the guts? Yeah, okay. Yeah,
yeah.
amazing. And what's your book called again?
It's called The Narcissist's Daughter From Breakdown to Breakthrough.
And where can people find that if they want to go and read it?
So that's on Amazon.
Yep. Okay, beautiful.
It's also on Apple Books and
Yep.
Kobo.
Okay, beautiful. All right, amazing. So if anyone's listening and is curious, they can head straight there and get a copy of that. So, and I think it's so important the more that we are able to actually educate and read other stories to recognize
Yeah,
that our story is something, there is something underneath there, especially if you're feeling it
hmm,
in your soul and in your body, that
yeah,
something feels off, always listen to that. That's something that we fight, isn't it? That we don't listen to our body
yeah.
signs and things like that. So
We ignore the red flags and yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Because there's always hope. There's always just, no, we'll just see again this time.
yeah, yeah.
We'll just try. We'll just try. I'll just see. I'll just see.
Just one more
So,
time.
what sort of things did you do in the grieving process? Because we're grieving a living person, right? We're all grieving
Yeah.
living people because we don't just shed
Hmm.
that person, we shed a lot of toxic people around us. So,
Yeah.
what tools or how did you navigate the grieving space?
So for me, writing was a huge part of that because
Hmm.
it was a way for me to kind of process everything I'd been through.
Hmm.
And originally I didn't actually start writing to write a book. I was just writing so
Yep.
that I could get it all out. It was more like a journal for myself.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, and then a friend of mine read something and she said, you should start blogging or something. Like this is really good.
Yep.
So when I came across the article that I read that made me realize my mum was a narcissist, I found so much comfort in that article realizing that I wasn't alone and it
Yeah.
wasn't my fault. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, let me try and start blogging. So I did, and I started to build a community of women from all around the world
Mm-hmm.
in a similar situation to us.
Yeah.
And honestly, they were my therapy.
Yeah.
Being able to have people that I could talk to that understood
That got it.
was the
Yeah.
most healing part of my journey.
Yeah. Wow. So good. And it's just, it is such a cathartic thing to be able to write it out if that's what the medium is that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also then just recognizing and having so many other people just validate their own stories
Yeah,
to then recognize that you're actually not alone,
no,
because
that
there's
was a
more of us out
huge
there than you
part.
realize. Yeah.
There
Yeah.
is.
Because we
Well, yeah,
do.
I've got 66,000 followers on my Facebook page, and it
Yeah.
blows my mind that there's that many daughters out there
Yeah.
in a similar situation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so, it just
It's
breaks your heart,
sad.
doesn't it?
It
And
does, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So what did you do for yourself to start being able to nurture yourself and fill that void and start to love you, find your own self-love?
So, I was really lucky. I was renting a room from a lady, and she became a mother figure to me during this
Mhm.
time. So she helped a lot in my journey because all the limiting beliefs I had, she counteracted them. So when I felt like I wasn't lovable, she showed me that I was lovable, and she became a mother figure, and she still is a huge part of my life. She really, really helped the grieving process. Um, I also I have an amazing Reiki master. For anyone that is interested, her name is Carol Mackey. I think her Instagram is My Reiki Star.
Mhm.
But that has been a big part of my journey as well. So I've had
Mhm.
a lot of Reiki, and I've released a lot of my trauma.
Yeah.
Just being able to kind of sit and talk to someone
Mhm.
um, that kind of can help me navigate those energies and those
Yeah.
feelings and to release them in a safe space.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was
For sure.
something I realized that was really important, that being in a safe space to release those
Mhm.
emotions was really,
Mhm.
really important, because you can open up to the wrong person and it can be
Mm.
really damaging.
Mm. Yeah. And that just sets you back, doesn't it? That just
It
brings
really
in the
does.
whole trust wound all over
Yeah,
again.
yeah. And then you just shut down and you don't want to talk to anyone.
Yeah. Did you experience that as well?
Um, I did earlier on before I went no contact,
Yeah.
um, which is why I think it took me so long to kind of cut ties and to speak up.
Yeah. For
Um,
sure.
Even now, I'm 10 years no contact, and there's certain people that have known me since I was a kid, and I was like, why didn't you ever say anything? And I was like, but
Mm.
I did.
Mm.
And I was told, oh, you know what your mum's like. Oh, but she loves you. She just has her
Mm.
ways. And they was like,
Mm.
I'm so sorry. And I
Mm.
was like, well, you weren't to know.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And then it's 10 years down the line and you're done and no one protected you then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you then forgive those people that didn't know any better?
Exactly that. They didn't know any better. So
Yeah,
I think I've learned that people can only understand what they've been through.
absolutely. They can only support you from
So
their own level of perception.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I had to kind of not take it personally, and rather than get mad at them,
Yeah.
I would educate them,
Yep.
or I'd ask them questions and be like, would you ever say this to your daughter? Or if your daughter felt this, what would you do? And I was like, oh my God, that breaks my heart to know that you
Yeah.
felt like that. Like, I would never do that to my daughter. And then they
Mm.
could kind of start to understand.
Yeah, okay. Can empathize a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. And did you choose to do that with a lot of the people in that space, or did you just think it's just not worth it?
Yeah, there was a lot of my family members I cut off.
Yeah.
There's a lot of friends that I was friends with when I was still in contact with my mum that I've cut off.
Hmm.
Um, just because they just didn't understand, and I already had a lot of self-guilt myself.
Hmm.
So to have it added from someone else as well, I was like, I don't need this.
No.
And
And that's
some
just,
of those relationships I came back to, further
Yeah.
in my healing journey, and some of them I've left there.
Okay. And that's another really big um, fear factor, I'm going to say, because everyone's so scared when we're going through this space and really recognizing it that we're losing all of these people and that we're not going to
Yeah.
have anyone left and we're going to be all alone.
hmm
How did you navigate that part when those things started coming in for you?
I think I started to surround myself around people that I felt I could trust.
Yeah.
So
How did you know to do that though?
I don't know. I think I've always kind of fed off energies, and I kind of just knew where the energy felt right and where I
Yeah.
felt safe.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I kind of stepped away from the idea of family or everything, because that had been
Mm-hmm.
drummed into your head, everyone's
Mm-hmm.
head since they were young.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm going to create my own family.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I was really, really lucky to have like amazing people around me that
Mm-hmm.
helped me through that. But I know that not everyone has that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's so important to me to build a community of women who understand, because no one should ever feel alone,
Yeah.
because they're not. There's so many of us out here, and maybe one day I can start doing events and doing meetups. I've got followers in Australia, I've got followers
Mm-hmm.
in America and Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I would love to bring those people together one day so that they can start to build those communities themselves if they don't
Yeah.
already have it.
Exactly. Find their tribe again so that they know they're not
Yeah,
alone. Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. And did you find um, going down the relationship track now, like romantic relationships, did you find that this affected partnering up with someone, like with a partner and those sorts of things? Did you see that bleeding into those relationships?
Yeah, I think it definitely gave me a lot of trust issues.
Mm, mm-hmm,
Um, but my first boyfriend, he was so toxic, and
mm,
at the time, I didn't realize it, but I was still in contact with my mum then. So
mm-hmm,
as I kind of stepped away from that, then I started to see those kind of similar patterns.
mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm really good at identifying them now. And I've been told I'm quite cutthroat, and sometimes it's to my detriment, because I'll see like one toxic and I'm like, no, sorry, I'm not involved.
Yep, yep,
Um, so I think I kind of need to learn to find that balance of being like, not everyone constantly needs to be cut off.
yep. So our protective measures go the other way, like our protector parts come in and they're just like, nope, chop, done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
No, I totally feel that too. So yeah. Um, so what would you say to our listeners and anyone that comes into your space? Like what do you say to them to help them get through and just to start?
I think the first thing that I usually say to them is, whatever you're feeling is valid. Like, you're
Mm,
feeling that for a reason. Don't doubt
mhm,
yourself, because I have a
mhm,
lot of people say to me, I don't know if I'm overreacting. And I'll always say, let me stop you there, but you're not overreacting.
mm,
Um, and I think an important thing as well that I tell a lot of my followers is, feel what you're feeling. We're always kind of told, like, don't be angry and don't be
mm,
sad and
mm,
don't be mad. But if those are
mhm,
the emotions that we're feeling, we need to release them, because otherwise
mhm,
we're just going to keep them in, and then we're going to explode.
mhm,
So yeah, feel all the emotions that you're coming through. Find a safe space, a safe person. If you don't have that person physically around, then find a
mhm.
community online that you can talk to. um
Absolutely. Yep. Get into some
and
groups and things
talk.
like that.
Do
Yeah.
exactly that. Talk. Tell
Yep.
your story.
Yep. Exactly. Oh, I love that. So, Kylie, where can we find you? Where can everyone who's listening? We know how to go find your book. Um, you've got Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, website, and it's all www.narcissisticdaughter.com.
Yeah.
Your Facebook,
So
yep.
yeah, so most of my social pages can be found through my website.
Okay.
But the Facebook is Narcs, so Narcs, daughter.
Mhm.
Instagram, narcissist underscore daughter.
Mhm.
And on TikTok is the same, I think. But they're
Yeah.
all linked on the website, which is the
Okay.
easiest place to
Amazing.
find them.
Cool. So I absolutely invite everyone listening to go and scroll and jump into all of those spaces. Do you have a Facebook group?
So I've got a page which I think is the same as a group.
Just the page. That's okay. I just thought I'd
Yeah.
just double check. And then you've also got a course as well. Tell us about the course.
Yes. So I celebrated in November 2014 my 10-year no contact anniversary. And I
Wow.
really wanted to do something to kind of honor that day, because it's a big,
Yep.
big thing for, you know how difficult it is.
Yep.
So I created an online course that helps other survivors of narcissistic mothers kind of navigate their way through their healing journeys.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm all about kind of rising from the ashes and having that
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix moment. So the
Mm-hmm.
course is called Awaken the Phoenix, and it helps guide you through things like self-guilt, limiting beliefs, setting boundaries, and really kind of setting up your future life. There's also a module that works through healing your inner child. There's a couple of meditations on there from my Reiki master that I mentioned earlier, which are amazing. They've really helped me. And then kind of planning for the future. What does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
So there's 6 modules on there, and there's like a private group on the website that everyone gets put into as well. So we can have kind of more private chats than on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've just launched it, and I'm really excited to kind of grow that and take a load of people on this healing journey.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And you've also got something new coming out too, don't you? That's about to launch.
Yes, so I have just received my proof this
Mm-hmm.
week of the Phoenix Rising Journal, which is a healing journal that has prompts in it to kind of get you writing, get those emotions out, get change the narrative.
Yep. Yeah.
And that
I
is
love it.
going to be launching. That's going to be launching soon, and that will also be on Amazon.
Yeah, amazing. All right, beautiful. So go and jump into Kylie's social network and see when that's going to come out. She has given me a little sneak peek of the proof too, so it looks amazing. So thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you.
Wow, Kylie, I've totally loved our episode. This is phenomenal. Thank you so
I
much for
have loved it
sharing.
too.
Thank you for everything that you do and bringing all of this awareness and just being in the world and bringing to all of us what you do. It's just phenomenal, and we definitely need more of it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you for giving a voice to the daughters of narcissists. It's so
Absolutely.
important.
Absolutely.